Hello and welcome in. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Gorilla Sports Off Ice pregame live edition Game 5 out here in Dallas. It's Avs and Stars. Before we jump into everything, I do want to remind you guys about our great friends over at Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American's salary-based mortgage consultants to help lower your interest rate and get a better monthly payment. Go to trustedamerican.com right now to see how much money they can help you start saving. I'm Jesse Montano, joined by Meghan Angley back in the Gorilla Sports studios. Meghan, I feel a little bit lost. I'm at the arena and I'm not with you. I'm not really sure what to do with myself. How you doing today?
I'm really well rested because I didn't have to catch an early morning flight to get to Dallas in time for morning skate. So I have mixed feelings. Like, I'd love to be there with you too, but goodness, do I feel well rested.
Good. That's a good night's sleep is just as important as anything else. So I'm very jealous. I didn't sleep at all on the plane this morning, in case you were wondering. But we've got our room, so we'll be able to go back after this and get a nice nap in since we still have like 11 hours till the game starts. Yeah, it's Avs Stars Game 5 here tonight, Meghan. I guess before we get into some of our specifics, I guess just what's your kind of general vibe? How you feeling going into this one tonight?
A lot better now that they tied the series going into it. I think it would have been a steep mountain to climb if they had gone down 3-1 in the series. You know, it doesn't have the implications of an elimination game, but it still feels like the series is on the line now, every game that remains. And with everything the Avs did right in Game 4, it's a lot to build on, but I'm anticipating a strong response from Dallas. And so in their home turf, I'm a little bit nervous around the game tonight, and it's just because I expect it to be as tight as it has been this whole way through. The Avs did a lot of great things, though, so I'm excited to see some good playoff hockey.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, you're definitely expecting that big response from Dallas, but I do think that the Avs, I think they built themselves up a lot in that Game 4. I think they did a lot of good things. I think they built a lot of good habits, and I'm excited to see if they can – I've said build 4 times in a sense. I'm excited to see if they can build on that a little bit here tonight. Like, I think, look, they're at a +6 goal differential through 4 games in this series. They are winning big and losing small, and that's typically a sign that you're doing a lot of things right, whether it be in your own end, generating chances, and I think them getting the result a couple nights ago, Meghan, I think that was really good for their confidence. Like, you and I talked in that pregame before Game 3 of, like, I think this is a team that is doing some good things but isn't getting the result, and that's got to be frustrating. I think it was nice for them to get the result, and I think they can build on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, too. Why it's felt a little bit dicey, I didn't think they played bad in Games 2 and 3. And it stings that they kind of let it slip from their grasp in a little bit of ways, but it also came down to the paper-thin margins that we keep referring to in the playoffs. But defensively, through this point, the Avs have continued to do the right things, supporting Mackenzie Blackwood and taking care of things in their own end, and they button things up in that degree, even more so in Game 4. So I like that this is maybe the strongest area of the Avs now through 4 games, and it has to continue to be, which is the other strong demand, because being good in your own end has a physical toll. And the Avs have certainly been paying that price game by game in a way that I don't know if we've given them enough credit for. But we think of the Dallas Stars as a heavy physical team. The Avs have not only matched that intensity, but I think they've actually come with more of a physical game in anticipation of some of what Dallas does well in that regard. And you look at Parker Kelly, 11 hits in Game 4. And I talked about the success of the fourth line in the 2022 playoffs. Darren Helm, his hits per 60 was kind of monstrous. Parker Kelly has brought the physicality every single game, and it's a team-wide effort. They're being stronger in battles as this series goes on, and so it's been physically demanding for the Avs, and I want to give them that credit. And that's also where the nerves creep in, is that is hard to sustain over a 7-game series, but I'm really proud of the physical effort that they've put forth.
Well, and Megan, this has actually been something, in my opinion, that has been a sneaky part of the Colorado Avalanche for the last handful of years that they maybe don't get enough credit for. Are they the Florida Panthers, with Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand? Like, are they them? No. But this is a team that can play physical. They're happy to play the hitting game, and we've seen it in playoff series going back to 2022 and even the last 2 years since. They're like, hey, if you want to play physical, we'll do that. We'll mix it up. We'll play heavy on the wall, and I just don't think that that's something the Avs get enough credit for league-wide. So for us, maybe it doesn't feel as surprising, but I'm with you. It's nice to see them stack up to a team that is known for their physical ability and mixing things up, and like the Avs actually feel like they've maybe been the more physical team to this point.
Yeah, well, the hits game by game have tracked with that. They've come away with the hits lead in each game so far in the series, and since game 2 onward, it's been a really close number, but it still started with the Avs setting that tone, out hitting the Dallas Stars, and it's persisted through this point.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into things here. Let's talk about what we saw today at morning skate, Megan. Not a lot of lineup changes of note, or really just lineup notes in general. Sounds like both sides are going with more or less the same lineup. Mackenzie Blackwood versus Jake Ottinger. 2 players I want to talk to you about that we spoke with this morning at morning skate. And let's start with Sam Malinsky, who drew into this series in Game 3. Looks like he'll be back in the lineup again tonight. We've talked about him a few times since he drew in, but we were worried about how is he going to be able to handle the physicality that we were just talking about in this series, winning battles in front of the net. How is he going to be able to assimilate to the pace? I think he has looked fantastic through 2 games. He's contributing. He's putting pucks to the net. And when I talked to him this morning, I said, hey, there's an emphasis right now on pucks going to the net. Is that just part of your game? And he said, yeah, that's how I've always played. I put pucks to the net. If I have a lane, I put it there. And I think in addition to everything he's brought positive defensively, I think right now in this series, you don't have, it's not possible to have too many guys that are willing to shoot the puck, Megan.
Yeah, I think back to a chance in the second period for the Avs in Game 4. McKinnon gave the puck to Malinsky. Malinsky fired a slap shot on net, and Ottinger didn't have it covered, and so Nichushkin was there at the net front trying to find that loose rebound.
It was close.
And it was close. It wasn't enough time. Nichushkin clearly didn't see it, but it's the direct result of Malinsky putting pucks on net. And from Game 3 to 4, this only improved for him because you saw the intent behind what he was doing in Game 3, but in Game 4, he was second on the team for the team lead in shots on net with 5 additional shots either blocked or missed. And so he's forcing Dallas to get in lanes with the threat that he poses out high, putting pucks to the net. And that just means a lot of threats then from different areas of the ice, and it makes them more dangerous in the offensive zone. And those are the offensive tools that we've talked about with Malinsky since he was a college player. It immediately translated to the American League. And honestly, he found success at the National League level pretty quickly.
Yep.
It's just a different beast in the playoffs. And so it was unclear if he'd be able to get that side of his game to translate without that fear of making mistakes. I think, especially for Malinsky, there was a period in the regular season where there was a bit of hesitancy to his game. And I think it was because defensively, he had some moments of being a liability, and he didn't want to be that. He wanted to be the player that Jared Bednar could trust. And as a result, I think it led to him not leaning into his offensive gifts as much as he could have. And since the Four Nations break, I think he's really opened up his mindset, developed a lot more confidence in himself, and it worked alongside buttoning up the defensive details. And so he is not easy to get off pucks in his own end, and he's a smart player, kind of like Taves in that, he has that ability to make a stick play and avoid the contact if he can. And I think that has really helped him in his own end, but he's also going to wear that contact if he needs to. And I think he's been stronger on pucks in his own end. And it's an understated quality in an undersized defenseman
Yep.
because of his skating too. I think that he's able to drive plays up ice with a good breakout in transition and be a difference maker in the transition game for Colorado, different from an Eric Johnson, who I think has his own skill set that is valuable to the Avs in this series. But what they needed was goal scoring, and they needed to be moving play north. And I think Malinsky helped that bottom line.
Well, and in terms of him on the offensive side of the puck, I also do think that him drawing into the series the way that he did, and being able to be the threat that you were just talking about and what he talked to us about this morning, like I think that's maybe been an interesting part that Dallas has had to adjust to. You got Cale Makar, you got Devon Toews, that Sam Girard is out there, slippery player, and now suddenly here comes Sam Malinsky. And he's just another player that you have to worry about. Like you said, he's a threat to shoot. If he has a lane, he's going to put it to the net. And it's just here's another player on a different pairing that if you're the Dallas Stars, you got to pay attention to in addition to everything you were talking about on the defensive side of things.
Yeah, I think this helped the bottom line because when we get to our keys of the game, there is something that the Avs do in leaning on their back end to help the offensive bottom line, and it's the transition game.
Yep.
And having players that have puck skill and good skating is kind of crucial for the way that the Avs want to play hockey in a way that will be most challenging for the Dallas Stars. Yep. And so again, this isn't to dunk on Eric Johnson. I think he weathered the special team storm, eating up huge PK minutes early on in this series in a way that the Avs needed as well. But because offense was what the Avs needed a little bit more than that, they just needed to be more disciplined, right? At the end of the day. Yep. That's where I think Malinsky, with the puck skill and his skating ability, and then, of course, the threat of the shot, added something of an advantage to the Avs.
100%. Hopefully I didn't sneeze in your ears just then. Yes, like you said, Eric Johnson, that's still a great option to have as your seventh, but what Sam Malinsky has been able to jump into the series and do has been impressive. Let's switch gears here to Megan, to someone that you talked to a couple days ago, and then we heard from this morning that you're wanting more out of, and that's Jonathan Drouin. He didn't get to play in the first round series last year due to an injury that he sustained in game 82. So having him this year, look, Jared Bednar has told us multiple times, Jonathan Drouin's a big part of this team. He's important for what they're doing. Playing now with Charlie Coyle and Yoel Kiviranta on the third line, Jonathan Drouin told you and then told us again this morning, haven't been good enough. I need to be better. I need to be more involved. I need to simplify my details. What are you looking for out of Jonathan Drouin here, Megan?
I want to see him play with confidence, because to hear him speak about the criticism of his game, it's raw and it's honest, and I think that's important too, but you don't want that to delve into a place that lacks confidence. And I look at how he played on that third line with Kiviranta and Coyle, and I actually saw some good things. And so I think he's in the right spot right now, and he earns a secondary assist on the Nathan MacKinnon power play goal in the first, early in the game. So he still found a way to contribute on special teams, even though he might not have the role on the top unit that he became accustomed to. There's still a path back for Jonathan Drouin to be the top 6 player difference maker on the power play. So that fully, hasn't been removed as an option. And where he can find a different way to make a difference then is being the play-making high IQ player that we've seen in the Avs top 6, but now on a third line with a player in Charlie Coyle who on other teams would be a 2C. And so I wouldn't view this as a demotion in the harshest sense if I'm Jonathan Drouin, but there are honest truths too about why he's in that position. But he still has talent in a player like Coyle who, just this team is so deep. That's the room that we're in. And so Jonathan Drouin has to embrace the opportunity to be a stronger two-way player. I think he's made strides in that regard during his time in Colorado, but that side of his game suffered a little bit on the second line, and it was a little bit of blame or guilt to be shared across the board for that second line. And so Jonathan Drouin has the opportunity to make a difference using his skill, his high IQ, and create with that third line that's going to battle for pucks. Kiviranta's throwing the body around as well, and Coyle's going to get to the net front. And so you've got willing, hungry players on a line with Jonathan Drouin. He just needs to match that hunger. And I think that second line previously lacked a little bit of the hunger and intensity, or killer instinct, as Bednar would say, that they needed. And now Jonathan Drouin should be playing from a place of of motivation to prove that he's more than this in the series. And I think, his regular season impact supports that he is more than we've seen through this point. He just needed to button things up a little bit defensively and away from the puck. And I think he's playing with such responsible players in Kiviranta and Coyle especially, that those are good habits too to kind of rub off on him.
So I'm glad that you ended that thought there, because that was where I wanted to go with this. I asked him this morning, I said, can playing with guys like Charlie Coyle and Yoel Kiviranta help you maybe just simplify what you're doing and in your processes and just get back to kind of the more meat and potatoes, getting to work and going to the net? And he said, yes, absolutely. And that's one thing that he was looking forward to doing, skating with Charlie Coyle and Yoel Kiviranta in Game 4. And then again here tonight, it's like, I'm going to go out and play a simple game. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get after it. I'm going to win some battles, and I'm going to put pucks to the net. So I actually think that's a good spot for Jonathan Drouin. Now, let's also keep in mind here, he has not been anywhere near good enough, and Jonathan Drouin has struggled. No doubt about it. Still leading the team in assists in this series. He's got 3, including a really nice assist in Game 4 to set up Nathan McKinnon's goal right at the end of the first period. So some positives to take out of it for Jonathan Drouin, but look, he's just got to be better. Everything that you just said, what we've seen make him successful, it feels like he has strayed away from that a little bit. I'm excited to see him skate with Charlie Coyle again tonight. I think that's just a good player for Jonathan Drouin to be with right now. Megan, let's get over into our 3 keys for tonight. We're going to switch off like we did a couple days ago. What's your first key for this game here tonight?
It's jump on them early. We've talked about how Dallas is a team that can thrive if they're able to strike first, and the Avs have opened the scoring every game in this series so far, and it has been close as a result of that, I believe so. And Pete DeBoer said in his availability this morning that these teams are so intimately familiar with each other. It's been a matter of who gets to their game plan the quickest and who sticks to it the most throughout the course of the night. And I think the Avs have done a great job of getting to their game plan the quickest. And so that's why it's important for them to jump on Dallas early. But of course, sustaining it over the course of the game is the other important detail, where I think the Avs have had little lapses that are just enough room for the Dallas Stars to climb back in. So it's important for the Avs to play the complete game that they did in Game 4. But starting early is incredibly important for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. You don't want to be playing from behind. My first key, I'm going with something that I went with for Game 4, but then Game 4 played out the way that it did, and it just underscored the importance for me, and it's goaltending. Again, Megan, you need another big Mackenzie Blackwood night. You're not going to ask him to do what he's done every single night so far in this series, but with as good as Jake Ottinger was, he got pulled in that game. Jake Ottinger is going to be looking for a big bounce back tonight. So as simple as it sounds, your goaltending is going to be a big key for this one, but it's also something that you have harped on a lot in this series, Megan, and it's rebounds and helping Mackenzie Blackwood out in front. I think the Avs did a really good job of that in Game 4, more or less for the full 60, outside maybe a couple pockets here and there. But seeing how good Jake Ottinger was a couple nights ago has me pretty certain that he's going to turn in a good performance here tonight. You need the same from Mackenzie Blackwood. What's the second key for you, Megan?
It's the play between the blue lines. It was something you talked about in your keys to the game ahead of Game 4, and similar to you just now, it was underscored in Game 4 in execution. They made exits for Dallas so difficult. And so not only are the Avs peppering them with shots in the O-zone, but they're making it difficult for Dallas to even escape that situation in the first place. And so that hampers their transition game to be strong at the offensive blue line. And then the play through the neutral zone to slow Dallas down and stop them at your own blue line, stand them up at the blue line, make it difficult for them to enter, hurts their ability to get set up in the Avs end and start creating anything of meaning. And so this is where I think Josh Manson talked about it this morning. The way that they defend in their own end as a 5-man unit, everybody tending to their assignments, it's a good formula for a reason. It doesn't allow Dallas much time to get very dangerous, but I do think that even ahead of that, the play between the blue lines is where the Avs have a chance to stifle Dallas from being able to pick up speed and establish a zone time in the Avs end. And this also just exhausts them in their own end by not being able to escape it in the first place. And so I think that's where the Avs were able to outskate the Dallas Stars in Game 4 and where they were able to create more opportunities in the offensive zone.
That was one of mine. I absolutely love it. I think whoever wins the neutral zone is who's winning these games. So that was one of mine. So my third key here that I'll go with, it's depth scoring. The Avs, you know that Nathan McKinnon's going to get his looks. You know that Cale Makar is going to get his looks. And you know that, especially with the way we saw that second line play, it's a pretty good guess that they're going to get a couple looks as well. Having the scoring open by Logan O'Connor in Game 4. Ooh, I'm going to sneeze again. My allergies are going nuts out here, folks. Key to the game, bring allergy medicine. That's a key for me. But having Logan O'Connor be the one that breaks the ice in Game 4, especially shorthanded, it takes the pressure off your top guys, and it allows the Avs to get to their game, get out in front, and keep Dallas from being able to play that suffocating style. I think just getting contributions from the bottom part of your lineup is going to continue to be so important for the Avs in this.
I think that there's no safe lead in this series, and so just getting scoring everywhere that you can get it, to include the back end. I think that's going to be an area of the lineup that has stepped up in creating plays, but I want to see them put some pucks to the back of the net too. I go back to some of the formula of success in Game 1, and you had Taves from Manson, and you had Charlie Coyle from Drury. And so I do think you're exactly right to shout out depth scoring. It's incredibly important in their formula for success. My other key to the game then is going to be, I talked about fearless hockey in the first one. I'm going to go with relentless hockey in this one, because something I thought the Avs did well, Dallas isn't going to give you chances easily. And the Avs ran into that in Game 4. And so a lot of shot lanes blocked, passing lanes stopped. And the Avs just powered through it by being relentless and just resetting quickly and not letting that mentally get to them in any way. They just continued to diversify the way that they created. And eventually it broke through. And so I want to see the Avs continue to adopt that mindset, because they're probably going to run into another good Jake Ottinger performance and a Dallas team that's tightening things up defensively, managing their lanes well. All of that you can expect to be true. So fight through that. You know, I talked about how you don't play to the inner ice, you earn it. That all remains true. I want to see the Avs be relentless in how they create.
I love it. I think if you stick to those things and you can win a couple of those battles, win a couple of those keys that we just talked about, you're going to put yourself in a good position. We're going to get into who our difference makers are tonight, and then we'll wrap things up talking a little bit about what it's like from the other side, what Dallas is maybe looking at coming in tonight. But I do want to remind you guys about our new partners over at Accurate America. You never know when and where the hail will hit when the summer storms come, and the last thing you want is to be caught scrambling when it does. So call before the storm. Call Accurate America. They'll partner with you on navigating insurance, provide quick, professional, and knowledgeable service using the latest technology and 3D modeling. And this is my favorite part, the work is guaranteed for as long as you own the home. If Accurate America comes out, helps you with your roof, your siding, as long as you're in that home, they are going to back up that work with a guarantee. Don't scramble at the last minute. Call Accurate America at 303-900-ROOF. Again, that's 303-900-ROOF, and make sure you call before the storm. Megan, who is your difference maker for the Avs tonight that you think is going to come in and be the linchpin to this one tonight?
All right. It feels like a little bit cheating, but I don't think we talked about this in the post game, but I saw shades of Cale Makar in Game 4, and it didn't necessarily translate to the explosive difference maker that Cale Makar can be, but you saw in his skating, he was juking guys with starts and stops and weaving in and out of traffic, evading players. And so I saw shades of Cale Makar in Game 4 that I think are going to break through here in Game 5 in a big way. You know, I heard Pete DeBoer also mention that his top players he feels haven't really shown up in this series. I think that's really interesting, because I'd agree to an extent, but I also think there are limitations to maybe some of what the top players in Dallas are capable of, that it hasn't really deviated from my expectation too much with a team that's missing Robertson and Heiskanen. Mm-hmm. But for Colorado, we have not come close to seeing full impact Cale Makar, and that's why I'm a little scared of what that could look like in this series.
All right. I like that pick a lot. He actually was almost one of my keys to the game because you saw in game 4 what a difference he can make when he's playing at that level. But I'm actually, and this might also be cheating. This maybe feels like low-hanging fruit just given what we've talked about. My difference maker tonight, Megan, it's Jonathan Drouin. We talked about depth scoring. We talked about Drouin needing to be better. He can be a difference maker for this team. We've seen it over the last parts of the last 2 seasons. Jonathan Drouin is my difference maker. I think he's a guy that if he can get going on that third line, play next to Charlie Coyle, and just create some havoc in the Stars zone, find a way for that line to be the one to break through on the depth, that I think could be the difference in this one. So I'm going off the board a little bit, actually. I think Jonathan Drouin is a difference maker here tonight.
I think his defensive game improved in one game being on a line with Coyle and Kiviranta. And I also think he had a few more puck touches as a result of playing with such responsible players who are going to come up with pucks winning battles. So I love this take. I think that Jonathan Drouin can have more of an impact than we've seen in this series as well.
So there you go. Cale Makar, Jonathan Drouin, look for them to help the Avs get the edge here tonight. Megan, we're going to wrap things up by talking about the Dallas of it all. As Jared Bednar said all the time, they have a large part to say in how this series and how this game goes here tonight. Shutout in game 4. You know they're going to be looking to bounce back. I guess, where do you think Dallas is at right now? Are they maybe searching for some answers, or are they feeling comfortable with knowing, hey, we can win anything, we're back at home, and that puts us one game away from winning the series if we can take this one?
Based on how DeBoer talked about the discomfort of the postseason potentially being, just a couple days away for this Dallas team, and how that does create a sense of desperation then going into tonight, I don't think they're anything close to comfortable. And it's because of how we've even talked about ahead of game 4, it's been 2 overtime games. This has been tight. And so the games that they've won haven't been done so in a dominant fashion. And they've had to come from behind in each of those games, every game so far through the series. That's not a comfortable position to be then. It means that you haven't taken control of a game inside the series at any point, and you've squeaked out wins. You've gotten excellent goaltending, and it's still resulted in your goalie being pulled. There's a lot of concern around that. And I say that as someone who fully respects the defensive threat that Dallas poses to the way that Colorado would like to be creating in this series. I still view it as a challenge from the outside of it, but Dallas can't waver from what has brought them that close game by game either. And that it has been being strong in battles and being aggressive defensively. And it's taken every ounce of them, though, to achieve that in their game plan. So they can't waver from it in any sense, and they need to give more than we've seen so far. So things are a little bit dicey, and with still no Heiskanen yet to appear in this series, you look at the weight that Thomas Harley has had to carry then on the back end, and also being one of their best point producers so far in the series. That is where I am looking at some of the stars in Dallas's lineup, some of the more experienced players, to have a bigger impact than we've seen, because it's a requirement at this point. You can't rely on Thomas Harley to win this series.
And Megan, my final thought on this is I'm kind of taking everything that you're saying here, and I'm putting together with what we heard Pete DeBoer say this morning about, like, the team that has won has been the team that's been able to get to their game and then stay there. I wonder if Dallas is having a hard time staying there with the group they've got, the injuries that they're dealing with, and just the depth of the Avs and that relentlessness that you kind of talked about a minute ago. I wonder if that's maybe where we've seen the 2 games that the Avs have won that have gotten away from the Stars. I wonder if it's been this inability to stay with the way that they like to play because the minutes are so heavy for Thomas Harley and because their top guys haven't been going. I do just wonder if maybe that's a little bit where they're at. I'm sure they're going to be looking for their top guys to change that here tonight.
Yeah, you're looking at Wyatt Johnston. This is a player that's probably due a goal. That another young player, though, too, it's hard to put that kind of expectation on them. And so you're looking then at Jamie Benn and Sagan and Marchment and Duchesne to be the ones who really step up. But Avs have had their number this whole series. And I kind of look at the Brock Nelson to Gabriel Landeskog goal in game 4, and those are the types of mistakes, like we keyed in on Jonathan Drouin in the OT winner and losing Mikko Rantanen on the puck there for the goal against, right? there have been mistakes like that on Dallas's side, and we just kind of key in on the Avs ones because that's our focus, right? We're looking at where things went wrong for the Avs. A lot of things in Dallas's own end have gone wrong for them, and in that instance, that's actually kind of the full length of the ice. But those types of mistakes have been costly for Dallas in a way that maybe we're not talking about as much, but it has added up in this series. And so they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, both sides. A lot of work to do still to get this one closed out. Winning 2 games in this series feels like a monster task, given that getting 2 inches of open ice is a mountain to climb in and of itself. Winning 2 games is going to be a lot of work for either team. We're going to close this one out. It's starting to rain on us a little bit out here, so we're going to get inside, make sure that everything stays dry, including ourselves. But Megan, this should be a really fun one here tonight. Looking forward to seeing not only what response the Stars come out with, but how the Avs counterpunch that, how they respond to what, to your point, is going to be a good effort from the Stars. Megan, any last thoughts before we sign off here?
Discipline. I just want to see the Avs committed to discipline for the whole length of the game. When they are committed to it, it rewards them and they have a dominant second period. They take no penalties. It's going to make their life easier in what's probably a hostile building to play in if they play disciplined.
You're totally right. I love it. All right, that's going to do it. Avs and Stars going at it. Game 5 here tonight. Over 70% of the time, the team that wins this game in a series that's tied 2-2 goes on to win the series. So while nothing is finalized after tonight, a big game up for grabs here. The Avs have a chance to win this game tonight and come home with a chance to close the series out. A lot of implications here on the line tonight. Should be a great one. We will be back live after the game, breaking everything down. She is Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. We got Mark, we got Chloe, we got John, we got the whole crew helping to bring this one to you guys. Megan, it should be a ton of fun. Looking forward to talking to you more about it after. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. Avs Stars, Game 5 tonight is Guerrilla Sports Off Ice pregame live. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Bye.